Hello, everybody. It is really a pleasure to see you all here. We are now live with this open discussion of DiEM25 members regarding Biden's and Kamala Harris inauguration. We are here to discuss what we think about them, what does it mean? What are the ideas of our movement? What are our perceptions? And furthermore, if this is or is not a real change of the status quo or a real change in what we think it is this techno-feudalism establishment that is blocking our people worldwide. We have a couple of arguments, topic we would like to discuss, which are the current presidency. Therefore, this couple, Kamala and Biden, the corporate power, this commanders parade, our concerns and hope, and why many of us do believe there is nothing to celebrate. Another area of topics, of course, must be the historical perspective, which is this bipartisanism, this duopoly we have between the GOP and the DNC, the corporate relations of this party, the democratic degradation, and the fact that we think this is not a change of the system, not a change of the status quo. In the end, we will also talk about our DiEM25 proposals, because we aim for a total change of a deep change, a real change of what we perceive being a dominant financial system, a classist policy which is inhuman, and a disruptive giant tech feudalism status quo. And before closing it, we'll also introduce our new tool, our new campaign as a movement, which are the people's gatherings. Campaigns to tackle, we hope, real change, introducing this new engagement project to forge political programs throughout the continent. That said, please, here are our common engage rules: no cross-talking, no direct personal answers. Let's talk all together for the same amount of time. If we are less than 30 persons, we can stay 3 minutes. I have to thank every volunteer who helped me doing this. My name is ALBERTO LAROSI. I am a member of the DiEM25 since 4 years. I have been elected in the Italian National Collective and also in the Spanish National Collective, and I am a member of the Diversity, Disability and Feminism TaskForce. Here with me have been all of us going forward this debate. We have John Baird from the United Kingdom National Collective and Alessandra Rossi from the Italian National Collective, who will be our marvelous, pleasant but strong, also timekeeper and list keeper of those who wanna speak. Therefore, I leave my floor to John and later to Alessandra for her introductions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alberto. Presumably, you want us to step in at this point. So as I understand it, as we've discussed, we're going to be raising discussions around the issues that you've outlined. in your four introductory graphics. Now, my responsibility here today will be to kind of try and keep some discipline around our exchanges, which are going to be structured along the lines of those wishing to make a contribution to the various topics that Alberto raises. Please indicate that by either a raised hand or typing in the word stack for Alessandra in the chat. And then Alberto will be bringing on the speakers from the stack who will speak for 3 minutes maximum. And I'll give you a 15-second time warning with, simply with the words 15 seconds or something approximating that. And hopefully we can then start to get a fruitful and insightful discussion going. Did you want to add anything to that at all, Alessandra?
No, I would like to start now. Thank you, John. So I think Stefania would like to say something.
Thank you, Alessandra. Thank you, everybody, and above all the organizers of this such exciting event, Ivan and John and Alessandra, just the last minute involved. I just cannot stay with you the whole time long because unfortunately I already had a previous appointment. Yet I would like to point out some few highlights about the Biden administration and whatever concerns that is climate and green agenda. In fact, I was just I've been reading quite a lot recently, and it's quite interesting that there is a group of which is called Green New Deal Network, which is kind of mobilizing grassroots actions at federal and state level, investing quite an amount of money in local actions. In fact, they have been writing a letter to Biden because, as you know, Biden has his own climate paper, climate plan, but they're just urging him to be kind of pledging to binding actions concerning climate change. As we know, on the other side, there is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, whose Green New Deal has been kind of run out by Trump and called, unrealistic and somehow too costly. But this Green New Deal network in the States is really growing in its visibility and in its actions, because they want to be bringing in that climate agenda from abstract to realistic, with capacity building local actions, as they know that somehow the local communities are those who know the best what is needed for them. So it's not about like overall goals, but it's about clean water and clean air and safe communities and safe jobs. And they're just writing to Biden, urging him to be kind of highlighting the importance of retrofitting public buildings and transportation towards this green economy, low carbon economy, better said. So the last remark from my side is that somehow, whether we like Biden or not, yet is definitely setting up a kind of very inclusive and intersectoral group, in his administration, which is very promising, and we really hope, I look forward that somehow the climate agenda will be pushed forward, and that somehow also our Green New Deal for Europe campaign will be able to be, coming up with also a kind of implementing plan that can have local and visible actions. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Stefania. Alessandra, now.
Now we have Luke from Toulouse.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm relatively new to discussions in DiEM, even though I've been a member for a couple of years, I think, but I've only recently started getting involved. I think Stefania's points were really, really interesting, and and well spoken and worth looking into, because that was one of the things I wanted to raise, was in certain conversations that I've already had in DiEM forums. I've heard, I mean, I think, yeah, we all know who we might have preferred as Democratic candidates, or who we might be preferred to see running or helping to run the United States rather than Biden. It seems to me, I have a hard time imagining anybody else but him having succeeded in beating Trump, although maybe I'm mistaken. In certain forums, I've heard people saying he's even worse than Trump and he's a fascist, which doesn't seem to leave much leeway for anything. One positive aspect does seem to me to be the election to Congress of all the members of the squad and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as Stefania mentioned. And I'm just interested to hear how much DiEM members think it could be worth following and helping to support the more radical Democrats, how much we might have in common with them, given that the United States is what it is. Yeah, just see what, maybe there are bridges to be built, maybe there are things to be done. I'm just interested in hearing that.
Okay.
See, look.
Vincent?
Thank you, Alessandra, but wasn't Antonella before me?
You stacked earlier
Yes.
the hand.
Sorry, Antonella. It's your turn.
No problem, I can wait. As you prefer. I go? Do you hear me? Yes. Do you hear me?
See.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that today we should celebrate even some little or maybe great discontinuity, at least for three aspects that I think we should outline. The first one is the renewed adherence to the Paris climate agreement that Trump had denied, and I think that this make a difference. The second one is the fact that Bernie Sanders, as budget chairman in the Senate, should make a difference in terms of a greater social protection that he will fight for, and for universal health care, greater rights for workers, higher taxes for rich and super rich people, because I think the only way to stop the populism of Trump is to improve the living condition of many people. So I hope that Bernie Sanders, as a budget chairman, will make some progress in that way. And the last one, in terms of discontinuity, is from the point of view of financial regulation. I think that Elizabeth Warren will make some new rule to break the financial bubble, and and together with the chairman of Federal Fund, Yellen, they will seek to promote finance for support jobs and ecological transition, not to feed financial bubble. So I think that we could find, at least at the beginning, some hope for a change. Thank you.
Good, Vincent. We wait for you.
All right. So regarding the issue of climate, I remember very practically in one of the presidential debates, Biden against Trump last year, the moderator asked Biden, and I think Trump confronted Biden with a question on whether he supports the Green New Deal or not. And Biden very clearly stated that the Green New Deal is not his policy. His policy would be the Biden plan or whatever. But I think in that sense, you are right, Stefania, that the Green New Deal is mentioned as a framework, at least on Biden's webpage, right? So it remains to be seen how much of the actual demands of the Green New Deal will become official government policy under a Biden-Harris administration. I'm not so quite confident, especially because of early signs we've got from the willingness of Biden to actually lead on that issue. For instance, one of the first appointments he made as president-elect was a special advisor or senior advisor for climate policy, and that was a former executive of the oil industry, of the fossil fuel industry. So that's an issue in itself, I guess. And when Luke, regarding what you said about the chances of Bernie Sanders against Trump in the general election. Actually, I think the opposite is the case. I think Bernie Sanders would have been in a way better position to beat Trump than Biden ever was. Of course, Biden managed to beat Trump. Luckily, we are all lucky that that happened. But in the end, it was much tighter than the polls conducted by these by most pollsters suggested first. So if it hadn't been for the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent economic depression and economic downturn, actually I believe that Trump would have managed to win this if he had to compete against Biden in the general election. So the only safe bet was Bernie Sanders, actually. And you could also see that reflected in the polls back then. Also in 2016, same thing, but Bernie Sanders always performed better in the polls against Trump than did Hillary Clinton or than did Joe Biden. So much about that. And then let me come to the to my last point, what you brought up, Antonella. The chairmanship of Bernie Sanders of the budget committee in the Senate, which is definitely a positive thing. And I'm very excited to see what kind of policies he will be able to achieve and to implement using his chairmanship of the budget committee, especially when it comes to the option of budget reconciliation. So you don't need the filibuster-proof 60-seat majority in the Senate. You only need the 51 seats majority, which the Democrats have since the Georgia election, when you count in Kamala Harris, the vice president. So that is definitely something to look out for.
Thank you.
Hi, do we have you there, Alessandra? I need to unmute you. Hold on.
I'm asking. Yes.
Now it's the time for Julia Moore.
Thank you, Alessandra. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Buongiorno, bonjour. Hello there. Could I just ask? So I'm a colleague of John Baird, who's with us today, and my other colleague Andrew Robert Glassford, who was signed on but is now disappeared. I just wanted to bring your attention to something that I put in the chat, which is to just to be aware that the UK is now has a point of contact for the GND Europe, and I'm wondering whether or not do we have any American-based participants, adherents here today, because we are building up an audit of GND activism here, and as I've said in my chat, that I would like to think that this activity and other activities in the same vein are going to try and push the Green New Deal agenda up the priority list of the new Biden administration, because we do have concerns about that. Vincent has just talked about the oil-based lobby, which is so apparently explicitly strong within the Biden administration, and he's not even in power yet, so to speak, symbolically. Is there a plan? Will there be a plan for some form of task force with that single objective, really, to act as a progressive lobby group now in the new administration to further the agenda? Because I feel it's a very weak agenda. We know there isn't really a commitment to it. Yanis was talking about this, I think, on last week's CC discussion last Thursday. Thank you. As I said, I hope my GND colleague was here from the UK, but that's my representation from the UK. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julia. And now, Giovanni.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you here. I want to say a couple of things concerning the topics you have outlined at the beginning. So my first comment is about the election of Biden. Of course, it wouldn't change so much the overall American policy. We cannot expect a revolution from Biden. He's not a radical. So, but of course, his election is overall changing the world scenario, because at the end of the day, the USA are the most powerful state in the world, and they are leading the Western economy and policy and so on. So, of course, this is a positive thing. We cannot expect miracles, but it is a positive thing. But I'm very straight among actions that we can carry out as DiEM25. And I think that we have an excellent opportunity nowadays due to this pandemic and the recovery plan. As we want to influence the decision of the states about how to spend the money of the recovery plan, my idea is that we should get from local governments, the Italian government, the German governments, and so on, the draft of the recovery plan, and see how the different states have decided to spend the money, for example, for the Green New Deal, which is now a flag of any government in Europe, and see how the different states are acting. We are able to, in this sense, to carry out a real transnational action, comparing how European governments are acting, giving our criticizes and constructive ideas. So this is, in my opinion, a great opportunity for DiEM. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Giovanni. And now we have Valerio.
Valerio, hi.
Hi.
Sorry if I'm not so fluent in English as is Stefania Romano is fluent. Well, I don't celebrate anything. That's clear. I don't celebrate. I'm realistic. But what I read with Biden is a return to multilateralism. He will speak to unite Europe. Moreover, he will support the Libya situation. That's important for Italy. He will moderate the Erdogan's ambitions in Mediterranean Sea. That's not indifferent. On the environmental plan, yes, he will return to the Paris Agreement. Yes. But something more we still don't know. Probably he will change nothing about finance and economy. Okay, I'm finished.
Okay. Okay. Someone else will say something.
Is it all right if I come in at this moment, please, Alessandra, just to review a couple of comments that have been made in the chat. Stefania has had to apologize, but has left with a parting message that I've lost track with at the moment. I'm going to come back to that. Angela has dropped a comment, an interesting comment into the chat, which reads, "The greenwashing in Europe is very hard to track because there are apparently well-intentioned people and institutions that seem to be trapped by demagogic approaches. What can be done? CAT in Wales, Post-Carbon Institute in the US, Transition Network, question mark, question mark, question mark." So there's something to consider for anyone who would like to respond to that. As InfoTurk has, excuse me, I don't have your name, who has replied to say that I'm afraid that no one in the world really wants change of style of life in order to realize greenwashing in Europe or in the world. That the greater problem and DMers are few and should be more. Quite so. Back to you, Alessandra. You're on mute.
We have Piera Stefanini. Piera, you...
Hello, I'm sorry. I didn't see that it was not open. Hello, nice to see this DiEM's collective transnational is in my soul. So about Biden and Kamala Harris, I am okay. I am happy that they will be celebrated now in Capitol Hill. I hope. I heard now that it's some problem about a paper bomb that blocked the situation, but now is going on the show, so the celebration of for the Biden election. I agree a lot with, I have experience as expert senior Minister of Foreign Affairs. I have an experience in regard a little bit geopolitical. So I need to have also some doubt about this election. I agree with Giovanni and Valerio that no, it will change not a lot with Biden. Also, if he's very interesting personality, conservative personality, he's playing very well with the symbolic presence of women. He's very smart, but I hope it will be not only symbolic. But the bigger problem is what said, what is Angela, about, for example, our Green New Deal in Europe. We have to put as focus this problem, this policy, because I think that it will be very difficult for us to make a Green New Deal policy in Europe as dimmer of DiEM. Also with Biden, because we are completely in a greenwashing policy with diplomatic and how Angela said, the demagogic approach. I live this situation also in my wonderful region, Emilia-Romagna, Bologna, Italy, north of Italy, that is very progressive. They did really about planting a lot of trees in the region. A false policy, green policy. So I go slowly, and I said we have a lot of thinking about that and of acting. Second point, and after I will mi taccio, the problem is also for me, for us, we are Mediterranean focus. In Italy is in the Mediterranean, in Mare Nostrum. And here in Mare Nostrum, we have now one dictator, Erdogan, in Turkey, that is playing a very wonderful game, also with the new American government. I want to see what will do the wonderful Biden, the Kamala Harris, about this horrible dictatorship that we influence that we have in Turkey, in Turkey, in Greece, in Libya. Stable the situation in Rojava, in Syria, in Iraq. So I am waiting. I am with a network of Kurdistan women that from the women Kurdistan, I'm learning a lot of problem of the strategy, not only the tactic of Biden, of Trump before. And I am very careful. They are starting now. It's very important. Please, we have our transnational dimmer to remember that they are doing a campaign.
15, Piera.
I finish. 100 reasons to condemn Erdogan in Mediterranean as dictator of feminicide and genocide. I will see Biden in this situation. Thanks. Sorry for that I was long.
Thank you, Piera. Thank you, everybody. I wanted to ask if also owing to the fact that she wrote a couple of times in the chat, therefore, if also Angela Lacerda-Nober wants to speak, and I would kindly remind you all, this is an open participative space. Therefore, everybody who has something to say, just raise your hand or write in the chat. Thank you. Angela?
Yeah, hello, just to say hello. I could go on and on, but it's really a pleasure to be here. I tend to be, I tend to be focus on really weird questions like how in DiEM can we be absolutely faithful to our local origins and also global. And so not, I think that European focus is part of our problem. So we are a European movement, but we have to be absolutely clear that we are not Eurocentric. And I really fight with this kind of issues. So it's really hard to share it here. But so that's why I try to pick issues that are very, very specific, like this, the Mercosur deal. And it was very impressive to hear the Kurdistan women. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. I also would like to share a couple of thoughts on the in answering some of the questions that have been raised by all of us here. First of all, I'm really impressed, as usual, in DiEM25 by this transcontinental meeting. It's always, I feel overwhelmed by the joy and the admiration of all the knowledge we share in DiEM25. Here we have people from different countries, but we are all well informed, documented, and on focus and on the topic. Now also I see Deborah Allen Rogers from overseas, from over the ocean, from the eastern coast. And also I would suggest my take, let's forget Donald Trump. We can't change the past. Donald Trump now is the past. We don't have to deal with Donald Trump into the White House again. We have to deal with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And so let's talk about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Of course, they are less worse than Trump. Nobody is saying that. But in any case, this is a presidency who has a cabinet full of managers from the weapons industry, people who sells bombs, airplanes, missiles, and navy ships, and which is also full of Wall Street managers, the so-called financial oligopoly. And let's also remember the current Libya situation is also caused by Hillary Clinton, who was the current Secretary of State, who decides some of the wrong mistaken steps that led to the current situation. My take is that if we compare the current situation in the White House, this presence of the weapons industry and financial industry, it's our defeat. We have been defeated because we were together with Sanders. We pushed for Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, and we are the defeated ones. Of course, Donald Trump is also another defeated, but it was not definitely our candidate. Thank you. I will pass the floor to the next. Alessandra, I see Deborah raising her hand.
Deborah, if you...
Okay, hello everyone. I'm coming to you from the New York City DSC, however, coming to you from The Hague, the city of peace and justice, which is where I'm at now. Of course, being triggered all day long with dread, feeling it all day long. Is this going to happen? Is Trump going to be gone? And I think, Alberto, hello everyone, but I would like to say that we are not done with Trump because the product of fear is something that is still very valuable. And until we get rid of fear until we stop responding to the concept of being bombarded by fear and assuming that all is lost and nothing can, the point that you're making, Alberto, about the weapons industry and the finger pointing and so on. I think in DiEM all are a highly educated group on international studies. Certainly I am. As a peace builder, much of what I do is dealing with war and conflict. So I guess what I would like to say as an American, as an internationalist, as a regionalist, and the fact that I'm in Europe and I'm focused on the region that I'm in, is that I think if we are all brave enough to move past fear and to move towards the things that we at DiEM really aspire to, which is not reiterating like a Trump video, like a Trump clip. This is bad, this is bad, this is bad. But we have dreams for the Green New Deal. We have dreams for inclusion and cohesion. We have dreams and expertise for building infrastructure around peace building. Let's look at our needs, let's look at our interests, and then let's take our positions, right? Part of the conflict mediation system. In DiEM, let's shore up our needs, our interests, and then let's take our position, all right? And let's not amplify, this is the last thing I'll say. That which we seek, we find, that which we amplify grows. Let's start amplifying the beauty of DiEM25. And the beauty of DiEM25 with everybody I see in this group is that we have, that we have the power of experience. None of us are in our 20s. We have the power of experience. We have the ability to speak up. We have the ability to amplify what is beautiful in the world. And we have the ability to fight, because we don't have that much to lose. When you're someone my age, it's not like I'm going to live for another 50 years. So I'm here to do the actual fight for beauty and the fight for justice and freedom. So that is what I hope happens tomorrow. Last thing I'll say, no, Trump is not like Biden. Trump is not like Harris. It is a new day, and there will be new people hired and new people in the roles fulfilling what we need to work together with. So let's find a way for cohesion. And that's my fight. Let's do cohesion. Okay, so I'm going to close my mic and send you guys my love from an American perspective as an international. Thank you for listening.
Thank you to you.
So now we have no one. Alberto.
If I guess we have sufficiently talked about the new cabinet, so I would like to ask you to invite you to talk about the historical perspective. So we have the most powerful country in the planet, which is also, I may say, the most dangerous weapon producer in the planet, because it is surely the most powerful military available worldwide, which has this strong duopoly, this bipartisanism of the two parties who have a different marketing positioning, but often share the same managers. So we have also this party which calls itself the Democratic Party, which has a very strong corporate relations. It's a country, strong capitalistic country with a very strong establishment, and also with all the troubles they had in counting the votes. This system with the mail-in ballot votes, with also there have been people arrested for vote frauds 2 weeks ago. We may say that this added to a strong oligopoly in the mainstream media. These are all signs of a democratic degradation. I wanted to say fake democracy, but correctly, John corrected me, saying let's not say that so loud. And so I and many others of us, of you here, do believe this is not a change of the system and surely not a change of the status quo. Therefore, I would ask you all your thoughts about this. Thank you. Angela, Vincent, Michele, someone who hasn't spoken yet. I may say Christine, Michele, Lucio, Jasper, Daphne, Leah, Jose from Bonn. Is Jose or Jose? No, you need to open your mic.
Jose is fine, thanks.
And now that you have your mic open, why don't you go?
That's a very nice strategy to motivate someone to speak. Well, I guess I can give you my take on, as a former Bernie observer for his campaign here in Bonn, my disappointment when he got beat during the elections, the primaries. But I see the election between Trump and Biden sort of as choosing the captain of the Titanic. One captain was saying there is no iceberg, and the other captain was saying there's an iceberg, but we are going to be safe. But he didn't change course. He does not intend to change course. He does intend to reduce a little bit the speed, giving us a little bit more time. So I do think there are differences between both of them. But I'm more concerned of starting to create our own votes, because I don't think we have enough time and power to go through the electoral route and wait for our governments to do something. So I'm interested in, as Deborah said, the good and the hopeful aspects of life. I think there's a lot of mutual aid, a lot of people showing solidarity to others without need of someone from the top or giving permission, giving support, but just people themselves getting together. And that for me is where I try to focus more of my time and see that that doesn't only happen where I live, but it happens all over the world. It's just that it's not going to be shown in the media, right? I mean, the media serves the powerful, and well, those stories have no reason to be in the media because there's no profit to be made. There's no, like Deborah said, when we lose hope, those in power win, right? Because ultimately, by losing hope, we are basically, the self-prophecy gets fulfilled, right? If we say nothing can be changed, then we don't do nothing, and then, well, what happens? Nothing gets changed. But if you dare to let's say, dream and do something about it, then you can start to see a different kind of world being built. But it's not something that's going to happen by waiting for a savior. I just think when you look at your neighbors, when you look at your friends, when you look at the people who live around you, then you understand, okay, there are already very amazing people with me, then I can start doing something already with them. Maybe something simple like starting a group with your friends and neighbors and go directly to your farmers and then just buy food from him instead of giving them your money to Walmart or one big corporations. Maybe get in contact with local shops instead of buying something from Amazon. So it's just these little things that can empower us without requiring us to go through the electoral vote or trying to find a messiah that's going to change things from the top, but we can start building things from the bottom up. At least that's my way. And as I think it was Fiera who said about Rojava, I think that's a great example of what a different world can look like, but it requires us to put some effort and start building our own, let's say, to bind it to the original analogy, constructing our own boats. Maybe it's not going to be the Titanic, but it's going to be our own boat, and we will decide how we should, where should we go. So That's my hopefully analysis that makes some sort of sense. And thanks for giving me the chance to speak.
Okay, thank you. Deborah, you would like to say something? You raised your hand.
Yes, Jose, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. That makes my heart sing. What I would add is that, of course, besides support for you and support for that mentality, is that in fact, we are entering an awakening. We have awakened. We have gone through the same storm. We've been a collective storm in our own boats. COVID certainly didn't give us the chance to ignore that fact. I think the fact that you bring up something that I love to say in all the work that I do, which is, since we're saying in the lingua franca of English, that love is not spelled L-O-V-E, it is spelled C-A-R-E. And the care that we're giving for each other here now by listening to one another, the care that we give to each other in DiEM, the care, I'm part of the South Holland DSC. Please join us every Tuesday night. Care is an act. Love, anyone can say. We can sign it on a greeting card on Valentine's Day or at the end of anything. But care is something that we show for one another. So Jose's point about staying local, going near, and showing care for one another, COVID has given us the permission slip to do this and to not hold back. So let's continue to do it and open our arms to each other. And you know, certainly I will say one last thing. A lot of times people, you guys can tell I'm not 20 years old. A lot of times people think, oh, she might be naive. She might be XYZ. Trust me, I'm not. I know the value of care. I know the difference between care and love. And I know that true love is shown in true care. And I, of course, as an old time DMer, I care about you all very much. And so again, like Jose said, thank you for listening, but I really do want to extend my care for you, and please join us any Tuesday night for the South Holland DSC. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. So, John, you would like to say something?
Yeah, just a few quick remarks on something that Alberto and I were discussing earlier on this afternoon as we're getting ready for this meeting, revolving around the duopoly that dominates in the United States, and how that relates to the situation that we're laboring under here in the United Kingdom with our first past the post system here, which entrenches the two primary parties, the Conservatives and the Labour Party. Now, a little bit of history. This was a question, first past the post as opposed to duopoly, that was introduced into the public sphere in the form of the lead weight of a referendum sort of back in 2011. I think that was very, very recent history, which it seemed to have receded back into the past quite a bit. But the point is that that discussion to open up a possibility for breaking the impasses that exist in the United Kingdom with our system here, and the hegemony of the two dominant parties, didn't really find its way into the public discourse. It appeared much as the Brexit debate appeared 2 or 3 months prior to that particular referendum. So there's a salutary lesson in the curse of referenda conducted in this particular way. I suppose the other point that is worth remarking upon with regards to the situation that exists that seems so entrenched in the United States is around the reports that are emerging today for what seem, it won't be surprising if these reports for a Patriot Party do start to become concrete in the coming days. And so there will be a blizzard of analysis around the in political science around the implications for a patriot party organizing, and let's not be under any misapprehension that the resources for putting a configuration like that together are not going to be in short supply, and the figures capable of negotiating that, e.g. Bannon, who has now been pardoned today, are going to be omnipresent in that particular exercise. So that's my tuppence worth on the duopoly specifically. Thank you, Alessandra.
Thank you. So,
Ira, did you raise your finger or no? Okay. If I may just introduce a question to all of us. And furthermore, with those more experienced than me in politics, people like Giovanni, Vincenzo, and so on, Giulia, Angela. My question is, when in a political arena, we sum up the different policies in only two contenders, in only two parties. This usually leads to what we call duopoly or bipartisanism. We have seen that in many countries where we have lived in. We see that in United Kingdom. We see that in United States of America. And by the way, it is strange that every country we say it's united has two political parties attacking each other. Doesn't seem very unified for me. Every time we have this polarization, this increases the emotions, the feelings, the anger of the base of the population. But in my opinion, also it decreases the capability of the base of the population to raise their issues. Because it seems to me that every time they say we need only two political parties to be more efficient,
for 5 minutes.
Then they are not saying that they need two political parties to be more efficient for all of us. They need these two political parties to be more efficient for the establishment, because there is more representation of the diversities and of the needs of the population when we have more possibilities to channel them through different parties. I cannot believe that when we have only two parties, one is the party of the people and the other is the party of the establishment and the capitalism. Am I the only one who's seen this, who's believing this? When they say we only need two political parties, because it's better for them to pay these political parties, to channel, to lead these political parties, and to keep the population fighting each other, or not? Angela, Giulia?
Forgive me, Ivan, did you ask me to speak?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, just to echo what a very good, succinct explanation of this convergence of politics globally, where you have a duopoly of parties through the electoral system, as John was explaining. In the UK, we are the case study, of how the first past the post system has both caused and now created this embedded and entrenched blockage in party political ideology, but where we have two parties that are effectively, as Ivan has just described, we have one, the party of power of the elite, often with a right-wing bias, and the other party, which is the party of capitalism. And they are converging. If you are all familiar with the thesis Daniel Bell, which I think was in the 1970s, who spoke of convergence politics, well, we are at the point, I think, of convergence politics across Europe globally, where whatever differences of party political ideologies there used to be, they have now gradually grown closer together, and now they overlap and they are entrenched by electoral systems which don't look much different from countries which do not have a democratic process. And I think the UK is the world leader with that. It happened very quickly with our experience of Brexit, as John has said, with the experience of referenda, which exacerbates very quickly and undermines political institutions, especially democratic institutions. It takes away discussion, deliberation, analysis, and it puts in place the emotion and then the hate that Deborah, our colleague here, was just talking about. It makes people very vulnerable and open to manipulation with the language of hate and rhetoric of hate, which we have just seen, obviously, with Trump. And to a certain extent, in the UK, it's much more subtle in the UK, but fear is being peddled in the UK, whereas in the US, we saw it in the extreme rawness of hate. And I thought Ivan had just put that together fantastically by saying you have the illusion and the delusion of two parties which historically should be poles apart, but have in the UK have become dangerously close together, and that's dangerous to democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Now we have Luc from Toulouse.
Hi, thanks very much again. It seems to me that most of us are discussing things that we probably all agree on, and that's why we're here. I think this the duopoly, we're seeing it more and more everywhere. In France, doesn't have a first past the post system, but in France, whatever party can maneuver to be faced with the Front National during the second round of elections is the party that's going to get in so far, and that's probably coming to its limits. And all over Europe, at least, we see that this is what's happening. Right-wing, so-called populist parties are getting in all over the place. My interest is what, how can DiEM address this kind of situation? I think something interesting that's come out, that something which is speaking to me at the moment, which I seem to be seeing everywhere. I'm from the UK, so I've been affected personally by Brexit. Watching what's happening in the United States, we've seen, a huge amount of the population actually believes that the election was stolen. 43% of people apparently don't think Trump should be impeached. In France, we've got the Front National, but we've also had the huge movement of the Gilets jaunes, the yellow vests, which has been interesting to see what's been happening. But we mustn't forget that the yellow vests began because of fuel tax that was an attempt at ecological politics by the Macron government. However candid it was an attempt, and it created this gigantic upheaval amongst certain people in certain areas of France, particularly, for good reason. But we've got to be aware that kind of thing's happening. I went out occasionally on Gilets jaunes demonstrations, but quite a lot of people were carrying national flags. some royalist flags, or apparently there was a lot of Frexit ideas going on in the Gilets jaunes. A lot of conspiracy theories going on in the Gilets jaunes. We know that this kind of thing is happening all over Europe, all over the world. It seems to me that if I would want to hope that DiEM could position itself as the alternative to this, I don't know how to say it in English, fascisation, the fascising tendencies which come up, even if it's not necessarily fascism. That, you know, we know that Brexit was argued about immigration. We wouldn't say that 52% of the British population, 56% of the British voters are fascists, but we know that a lot of them voted because of fears concerning immigration, etc. I grew up in Cornwall, where Cornish fishermen are now probably going to be fighting with Breton fishermen over fishing rights, which I find completely tragic. These, you know, I'd like us to be talking about how DiEM can address these issues, these people. What I think we should be hammering home is things like the gigantic pay discrepancies. You know, people are fighting amongst each other for differences in minimum wage, when we know, and it's coming out every year, that directors of the top companies are earning hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times more than their employees, and thousands of times more than what they were earning when Karl Marx wrote Das Kapital. It's completely insane. We should be hammering that home. The media don't talk about it. That's what's dividing people.
Luke, we'll have to.
When, you know, when we have stories of fishermen demonstrating against wind farms in the sea, it's crazy that this kind of thing is happening, and it's too easy to manipulate. And I would like to see us talking about how DiEM can position itself to be able to talk to those people. That's actually basically what I wanted to say. Sorry, I'll be quick now. But in the United States, you know, they can't all be, half the population can't be fascists, but those tendencies are there, and how do we address them? I'll stop now.
Okay, Giovanni.
So I would cover a couple of topics. First of all, I think that for the time being, there has been a great change compared to the past concerning how political parties represent the social classes. In the past, there was a much more clear view about which party represented a social class. Nowadays, everything is messed up. This is to me is a core concept to be considered. Nowadays, for example, in Lega in Italy, they represent even employees, even workers. So there is really a mess up, and this is also a concept that we have to consider when we think how to position DiEM25 in the current political situation Europe-wide. The second core concept is the communication, because this is really, to me, the most important thing at the moment. How political parties communicate, where is the power of communication, and how these new media are let's say controlled by the political power, because this nowadays the paradigm is turned upside down. Now the communication, the media are controlling the politicians. Let's see what happened with Trump. When Twitter decided to shut up his mouth, he closed his account, and that's it. this is really a core concept and a core aspect to be considered in current political fight. So usually large corporations were controlled by the political power. In the past, when the old economy, for example, when there were monopolies were regulated by law. Nowadays, nobody's regulating Twitter, Facebook, or whatever. And this is something really crucial because communication at the end of the day makes policy. And we have to consider how DiEM25 can affect this way of communicating and to deliver the real information and not bullshit. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanni. I don't know if Deborah has her hand raised up, or it was.
I do. I can add, and then I'll stay for a little bit longer, and then unfortunately I have to kind of go and watch a little bit of the festivities of this strange day in history for American politics. I'm bringing in my international perspective, right? I think when I listen to everyone say, what can we do, and how should DiEM position itself? I think that we can do a lot. I think that DiEM is positioning itself. And I think there are alternatives. And so what I'll share is my own personal experience in South Holland. Landing in the pandemic, landing in The Hague, and staying here during lockdown. And now we're going into curfew. I think like people in Germany, people in France understand what that means. Maybe everyone does, because now we're going into an 8 p.m. curfew. But so what do? We're lucky because we have this online platform. We have this Zoom quilt where we can come together. We're lucky that we have life experience, and we can bring our life experience together and come together and build things. And to give you some examples of what we've been doing during the pandemic in South Holland, we've been doing salon evenings. We meet every Tuesday night. We might discuss algorithms with a quantum physicist in our group. Another night, we might discuss with an economist in our group the value of everything. Another night, we might have another guest come and talk about refugees being integrated into the digital society through her Skills Up lab. Another night, so every week we come together to shore up our own energy so that we're here for the long haul, right? And so while I know we're inclined to explain over and over and over what the problems are, I would submit and I would inspire and I would hope to share that come together and think of ways that we can inspire each other, because that is the alternative, isn't it? And the last thing I want to say, it's going to take me a second, but the news business is a business. It is a business with a cycle that has fear as the end product. In the United States, even listening to everyone, as I have for the past 4 years, say, Americans XYZ, based on a poll, based on numbers, based on even the voting record. We don't even all vote. So we're a fraction of the country that votes, a fraction of the country that actually speaks, right? A fraction of the country that, like for those of us who grew up during talk radio, the fringe calls in on talk radio, not the average citizen. And so while I'm not making a pitch for American citizenry or whatever, or the idea of the great project that was started by the Europeans and certainly supposed to represent freedom from control of the monarchy, I would submit that we have free will in DiEM, and we have free will in our groups, and we can get involved internally, intrinsically, and externally. And the last thing I will say is, in South Holland, we take it very seriously, and we contribute every week to making each other feel a little bit stronger and a little bit more cohesive, because cohesion at the end of the day is what we're going to be fighting for. Trust me. The fracture we get, cohesion we got to build. And I say to all of you here, I know some of you, I don't know all of you, but I know for sure there are amazing talents in every single person here. And I used to be a clothing designer in the 80s and 90s. Imagine that. Imagine me talking about the supply chain. So everybody, give of yourself to each other have your salon evenings and have a ball. Make it fun, because we need the energy. We need the energy for this fight. Okay, so that's, I hope that will inspire you. And on that note, I will say, mic off. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Deborah. We also have Jose. Alessandra had to leave us.
Yes, actually, I raised my hand because Piera wanted to speak, but I think she's having some trouble, so I'll let her speak.
Before I asked it, but you didn't see maybe, or maybe Alexandra didn't see.
Yes, Alessandra has to leave us, therefore she
So
literally
I was
couldn't
asking
see.
before if I can talk a little bit.
Go on.
Okay, thanks. I am very touched by the message of Johe Bon or Johe. How is your name? Johe?
Jose.
Jose.
But Jose is also good. No worries.
Jose, he wrote in the chat something that was moving me. He said, lesson from the first wave, resilience in the age of COVID-19, future 20K start interview and blah, blah. And he said that we have to wake up. So this is very important in this moment. We are living. I need to follow this this research, this resilience. We said for all our transnational DiEM people of DiEM. Maybe the resilience will be a word of resistance. A unity word in this chaos situation. We live a schizophrenic situation with the COVID and pandemic, not only in Italy, not only in UCAP, not only in Toulouse, not only everywhere. We have a big separation. I don't know, can we say separation? Please, so we have a situation, we need how to find one unity in this fragmentation, in this, I think, for my experience and for our experience of DiEM or small DiEM in Italy, of our feminist movement also, that we have to listen to the community. The community can be our help. It's very new vision to listen to the community. It's not so easy, because we, how Ivan said, also Luke said, we have on Giovanni also, I agree a lot with Giovanni problem. We have a party, but we have the party are liquid. We need to start again from community and find one transnational unity in resistenza. So we try now as women here in Italy, because we have vacation with COVID of the migrants women, horrible, in the service, in hospital, in the consultori, everywhere, horrible exploitation. So
time
coming up to, yeah.
Okay.
I think, Alberto, you mentioned that Daphne and Jasper have not spoken yet. So if
yes,
any of you want to.
From what I can recall, Michael Allen, who also happened to be a previous citizen in Her Majesty's Kingdom. So he may also add something on the duopoly in Great Britain.
If I can just make a correction. Those were not my words that Pierre read. Those were Subcomandante Marcos, now Galeano, who I just quoted, but I didn't put his name, so sorry.
So we have Michael Allen, Dia, Daphne, Jasper, and someone else who still, Michele Palermo, who still hadn't added to the debate. So I think the first priority is to hear them as soon as they want. Michele.
Michele.
Ciao Michele. Michele, we definitely cannot hear you, but we see you speaking.
That mic's not working.
No. Michele, better trying to reconnect you at all. Okay, I would like to add a few things, a bridge in the discussion, if you may allow me, regarding what has been said of this communication giant tech who decides who can have access to their platforms and who cannot. The main issue was that they shut down the Twitter account of the former president of the United States. And this shows how they literally can and are willing to decide to regulate who can and who cannot talk to the public. And deciding who can talk to the public means they decide who can talk to us, to you. And this, by the way, has also been one of the things a few parties have said. They are not shutting down the Twitter account of Donald Trump. They are shutting down the communication you can have with him. By the way, we will not follow this topic, but many of you knows that before being elected in the Italian and Spanish National Collective in DiEM25, my profession happens to be that of a visual communication professor. So I would like to share a couple of things. In communication, and especially in the marketing campaigns of political and electoral campaigns, we often use the dualism to understand the positioning of the political offer. And one of the most used dualism in the marketing campaigns is that between the mother and the father. A motherly communication which gives the elector some sort of benevolent perception, or a father perception, a fatherly patriarchal offer, which gives the elector the aim of a strong leader who will defend everything. By the way, this is the same dualism we have had in the fight between religions. Because we may say also, we may also see the differences between religions in this dualism. is interesting to say that one of the most efficient but tragic electoral campaigns in the past has been that of the first Silvio Berlusconi in Italy. And it was said that he was leading a fatherly proposal, but with the soft, caring words of a motherly offer. Many commentators underline the fact that he was implementing neoliberalism, capitalism laws, but he always was so well-spoken and nice and caring for the people, like an old mother. Of course, I'm talking only of the early Silvio Berlusconi, that before the prostitution and so on.
He was a pig.
Also. And I want to say that worked. It literally convinced a lot of electors. And this also, in my point of view, comes to us. We have to start to see the differences between what they tell us and what they do, between how we like them and how they like Wall Street, between how much...
Stalinist on you soon, Alberto.
Sorry?
I'm going to have to get Stalinist on you soon.
I didn't understand.
I said I'm going to have to be Stalinist with you soon. So
okay, sure. And leaving. Therefore, I wanted to introduce the concrete proposals and what we aim for, which is the final part of this discussion, which is our proposals as DiEM25, because we instead want to see a total change. We want to see change. In this proposal, the word change is repeated 4 times. We have dominant financial system and inhuman classist policies. We have a status quo. We have a really giant tech feudalism. We need to change all of that. And one of the means we hope will help us change are the people's gatherings. So members can tackle a real change in their location, in their area, with this project, which is a first step in forging political programs, political knowledge in all our areas. We also may see in our website the People's Gathering page, which is this, where you can understand better what are the People's Gathering, what you can imagine to do that, and how you can reach the project page, where you can download also the People's Gathering Toolkit, which is a list of questions and support to organize a people's gathering in your country, in your city, in your area, to create a movement worth fighting for, to get people involved, to also register your gathering, because you can register them in our European platform, thus it can be advertised. Well, you can also find a volunteer registration form, add your gathering to the calendar, and as I said, download the packaging, and also follow the questionnaires, because one of the main tools of the People's Gathering is that of questions, which, by the way, are one of the most important tools in understanding people, asking. And this is one more proposal, one more campaign by DiEM25. And I will leave the floor to the next member. Jose, who is?
I don't think anyone has registered to talk, but please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm checking the, there's no hand being raised. Is there someone that wants to speak? I saw the chat, but I didn't check the cameras. My computer is not that big.
Jose, Michele has rejoined us. Perhaps his microphone might be working now. Michele, did you want to speak?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ciao Michele.
Hello everyone. Well, as a matter of fact, I don't have anything new to say because practically we already said everything. Anyway, I wanted to say that I have several cousins in the United States, and they all said that they're very happy that they don't have any more a wacky president. And but they're not really happy for Biden because probably they prefer to have Sanders as we do. And this is exactly what DiEM is already saying for a long time. Biden is not enough for us. He represents the establishment. Probably there's a little more of greenwashing, but we have to work a lot. We have to try to get in touch with the Americans that are looking towards Sanders. Probably we could try to do, you know, and have, well, we have to work on our international progressive. That's it. But we already said all these things, so I have nothing else to add. We just have to stick on our programs and work on them. Thank you.
Thank you, Michele. I also seen Michael reviving your activity in the chat. Maybe he can also add a few words.
Well, I'll just say what I've written in the chat, that I thought Alberto's analysis of Berlusconi's success as a communicator is informative, and I mean, is an analysis that we ourselves ought to take note of, because we also have to communicate, and we are trying to communicate ideas that for many people seem outlandishly radical. And we probably ought to look at the way Berlusconi communicated and find ways to put forward our ideas without frightening people. Essentially, that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Michael, who I may also remember, he is a member of the National Collective in Spain. And so he is helping DiEM25 since a few years. Well, is John now?
Yes, thank you, Alberto. I just wanted to climb in with a quick advertisement on the back of some comments that Michael has just made and Deborah touched on earlier around the notion of the communication asymmetry that we are absolutely going to have to confront. So yes, we need to be refining and formulating our message and communicating our programs. But I just wanted to make people aware of the DiEM Goes Local platform, which is available to all of us. And it's a forum where we can get together to start to formulate, shape, and develop these communication tools. We have a studio, we have a certain amount of expertise in design and presentation, and you know, all of the necessary facets for putting this kind of content together. For myself, the significance of this kind of needs to be taken quite carefully. It is not the be all and end all, and there's a lot of important dimensions to activism within DiEM25 that we need to pay attention to. But it is a mode of reaching out. And the point of DiEM25 Goes Local, like the primary component of its mission statement, is to elevate the struggles that are taking place on the ground, in regions, in communities, in neighborhoods, and the good work that's being done that doesn't have a voice, which is not to say that people are waiting for us to be mouthpieces for anyone, but we do need to be prepared for people to step in when they do want to speak for themselves and to exercise their voice. So to that extent, this, I suppose, would be a call for anyone who has expertise on the technical or the communication side that they can bring to DiEM25 Goes Local, and also a call to for people to come and talk to us with their ideas to develop them, because we have the capacity to do this, and it's a case of encouraging and frankly making people aware that we're here and we do have this capacity, and that it's a case of we would absolutely welcome people coming forward with an idea that we can bounce, discuss, open up to everyone else, and develop and make something of it. If you would like to do that, by all means, please drop me an email. I'll drop my email into the chat, and would love to hear from anyone with a response in either of those directions. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Jose?
I don't see anyone. I can just add some comments that I had, I think in response to Luke, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, regarding the voters that they seem unreachable. But then it made me remember something that an American here in Bonn told me about the voters who supported AFD, the far-right party. And they were just saying, we do not agree with everything they're saying, but they are the only political party that that speaks to us. And that for me was like, okay, so why are we not speaking to these people? So I mean, if we are waiting for the media to carry our message, I think we're gonna wait for a very long time. But like John said, that we have the ability, we have maybe not as big of a platform as Twitter or Facebook, but we can start developing our own media. And if John is so kind to offer us his expertise and his group's expertise, then we should, I think, take advantage of that and start creating our own news, if you will, of another world that we want to achieve. So that's, I think, a way to maybe counteract that problem that Luke mentioned. Of course, it's not easy, but I think this is a question I wanted to ask you, Alberto, because in a campaign training, they told me that in order to get an idea through people, you have to repeat it 7 times. So it was like the 7-time rule. I don't know if it's true, but that's sort of my experience. You can speak with someone, and then after 10 times, they're like, you know what, you kind of make sense. So to everyone who gets disappointed for speaking with someone and say like they didn't understand, just be patient, listen to them. And when you start listening to people, you will start hearing what's important to them, and then you can try to build some bridges. So that's my tip that I think I'm still learning. So if anyone has other tips, I'm always happy to learn. So I don't think there's a magic solution. It's just a lot of patience and a lot of organization. So then do not give up. There's always hope, I think, and I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. I asked Jasper if he wanted to add something. He seems not quite.
I haven't
yes.
really to add. It's I was late, so not really into the subject, fortunately. Sorry. I would like to share a song with you, though, that came out today about Trump being gone and Biden being the new president. I also just saw it. It may not be your genre, but I do think he captures the essence of the question quite well with his lyrics. It's a song by Macklemore, quite a famous rapper. So there you go. Just
shall we share it, Alberto?
I don't know if it is possible that he can share the audio of the computer.
There might be a problem with copyright if we are transmitting this on Facebook. I'm not sure. So.
Oh yes, of course, yeah.
Next time, but you can add it in the comments of the direct stream in Jasper.
I put it in the chat already.
Perfect.
And Alberto, breaking news, Michele Pirillo has just joined us, and
yes, I've seen, not just, he's a few minutes, he's here. Let's not leave him the right. And I don't know if he wants to add something right now or after a couple of rounds later, of course. So, therefore, we agreed on a lot of things. We have seen that, in fact, this is not what we wanted. Most of us fought literally for Sanders. We don't want another establishment presidency. We don't want to be fooled by such a benevolent communication who says, we are the good ones. And we also have seen a couple of DiEM25 proposals. And I also share with you again the people's gatherings here in the website, where you can also choose your language. It has been translated also in Serbian, so there is no excuse to use this marvelous campaign tool. I think that after 2 hours, we are now headed to close. I again want to thank you all who helped doing this. John, Alessandra, Jose here, and all of you who joined us. Leah, there is the recording of this meeting, so you can have it. If there is no one who has spoken yet, maybe it is the time to say at least ciao, hello, bonjour.
Maybe Michele Fiorillo can say something about
Exactly.
gathering.
He already unmuted himself. Great.
Gathering assembly about the city.
No, first of all,
this is so important for us, Deemers.
First of all, thanks to Alberto and Vincent, Jose to organize this important talk, and maybe not historical moment, important moment for USA and therefore somehow for the world. No, just a thought about that. I guess you already said that, but probably now the point would be how to help Sanders, our friends and comrades, Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez, to build up not so easy opposition, internal, external opposition, both in the Congress and out of the Congress, and not lose the momentum of the movement was built up, our revolution, right? And that, of course, it's a task both for DiEM25, the Progressive International, I guess, and so I think the comrades of DSC New York will propose as some way to support their ideas to how to support our comrades Sanders, Ocasio-Cortez. I think Ocasio-Cortez, for us, first of all, it's the program, but we know also that leaders could be important. Ocasio-Cortez is already a bit in the mind of many Americans and not only Americans. And so why not to have her as a sort of shadow president, internal, external shadow president, internal to the palace and external. So a bit as Yanis and all the comrades of Mera25 are doing, like a battle in the Congress, in the Assembly, and then in the roads, in the streets, in the squares, every time it's needed. And I think that could be a way also to coordinate, and maybe through DiEM, we could also imagine that in topic moment, if Biden would dare to move war somewhere, we have, by the way, to be on the square together with the opposition to the war. Let's hope there will be no war, but we know that also Democrats president had started, triggered war that were not necessary. And so we have to be ready, and also ready also to make pressure on Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders in case they have some internal problem of equilibrium with the Democrats to make the first move. And so, yeah, about people gatherings, I think it's a great project that some of us also contributed to organize, also regarding the methodology, the deliberative democracy methodology. Tomorrow in Italy, some DSC also organize a divulgation presentation in Italia on this project. And of course, it's important also to have a transnational collaboration also on this project. So thanks again, Alberto, and everyone, the comrades here, to allow this discussion.
Thank you, Michele. Well, thank you, everybody, again. It has been really a pleasure. Let's forget Donald Trump. We cannot have to change the future, the past. We have to deal with the current president. We have to deal with the weapon industry and the Wall Street financial oligopoly currently marching into the White House. And it has been really overwhelming joy hearing you all and this transcontinental knowledge, as Deborah said from New York DSC. We are international people, we are aware, we study, we know stuff, and it shows. And I also will leave the word to John and Jose. Thank you.
And thank you to the organizers.
Thank you,
organizing in
Alberto.
such short notice.
See you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carpe diem.
Carpe. See you.
Bye bye. Au revoir.
Ciao, au revoir.
Ciao, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.
Passi, come si chiude questo?
Ciao.
Ciao.